What in the hell is wrong with CBS News? Other than the obvious, but I got some new stuff for you. You're going to love this. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, CBS News had sort of a weekendus horribilis, with apologies to anyone who actually knows Latin. I do not. It was something to see. It was almost as though Division Chief Wendy McMahon had spent days carefully laying out a field full of rakes before donning clown shoes and then dancing across the field to Ricky Martin's Livin' La Vida Loca. Things kicked off Sunday morning with, there was huge social media backlash to this, maybe you saw it, to Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan insisting to Secretary of State Marco Rubio that the problem with Nazis was all the free speech. Mm-hmm. I'm not making this up. She was referring to Vice President J.D. Vance's European address. You probably saw the one where he was defending the principles of free speech to countries like Germany and Britain that seem to have forgotten them. And Brennan said that he gave that speech in a country, Germany, where free speech, this is a quote, where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. Now, that is a thing that is a thing Brennan actually said out loud on network television, maybe because she lost a bet. I honestly don't know. Bill, to Marco Rubio's credit, he corrected her, but wouldn't it have been even more correct to just grab her by the lapels and say, "What the hell is wrong with you, woman?"
The resort to violence with people who you disagree with is generally characteristic of the fascist state that they're talking about. So I don't know if I need to grab her by the lapels. You could figuratively grab her by the lapels in the following fashion.
Yes, that's why I gave credit to Rubio and not to me.
Well, if it came down to desire, we'd all be in prison.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm a bit of a student of the rise of the Third Reich. And in the years prior to taking power as chancellor, the thing that Hitler was most known at, once he first walked into the first DAP meeting, before it even became NASDAP, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, it was a German Workers' Party. And in order to combat the influence of communist rival parties, he developed a gang of thugs. And these gang of thugs rather rapidly became the SA, not the SS, the SA, the brown shirts. And the brown shirts were basically Hitler's private army, and his job was to break up communist meetings, and also to make sure that if anybody who would heckle Hitler during a National Socialist rally, they'd get beer mugs thrown at them and their teeth broken, and more often than not beaten badly, and in many, many cases beaten to death. This idea that Adolf Hitler was this champion of free speech, that somebody could, in the middle of an Adolf Hitler speech, stand up and say, "No, you're wrong, Adolf," and then people would boo, and Adolf would say, "No, let him speak, no, it's all about the free exchange of ideas." I think somebody has referred to this as the Weimar delusion or error. The idea that Weimar Germany, or Weimar Germany, I suppose I should say, prior to Hitler assuming power, was this kind of Jeffersonian sort of marketplace of ideas, which which Hitler used to it's just plain wrong, Steve. And when you get, you don't have to dig very deep into left-wing philosophy and rhetoric to realize that pretty much everything they believe is not only wrong. I think Evan Sayet might have said this. He said, you can't be this wrong by chance. It's like, it's anti-wrong. It's anti-truth. It is
as wrong as wrong can be, as Evan would say.
Yes, exactly. And so, yes, free speech is what leads to Nazism. Congratulations. You've beclowned yourself yet again.
Not just to Nazism, to the Holocaust.
Oh, Nazism, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
She said the Nazis weaponized free speech to conduct a genocide.
That's right. And I'm sure that the people in the gas chambers, their last thoughts is before they blanked out was, if only there had been someone there to prevent people from speaking out about things.
CBS News. And it turns out they were just getting started. So Sunday morning, CBS News, they were bemoaning how Hitler's Germany was all free speechy. by Sunday evening, CBS News 60 Minutes pondered the proper limits on free speech enforced, I swear to God, by well-armed German state police. I am not making this up.
No, I saw this too.
Yeah, they did a segment. Well, first of all, they talked to this German lawyer, Josephine Ballin, who said that half of the internet users in Germany are afraid to express their political opinion. And I'm thinking, I respect the hell out of this woman. She's defending free speech online, except that's when she used that as a jumping off point to say that free speech needs boundaries that must be
She's
enforced.
proud of it.
Yes. I was taken aback. And part of this segment, Scott, was they actually showed video of this rather large group of German state police conducting a raid on this rando's apartment, seizing his laptop because he'd posted a racist cartoon online. You can guess it wasn't racism; it was Islam, and you're not allowed to make fun of anything Islamic. Yeah, they seized his laptop. They probably made him wet his pants. I mean, this was a big group of state police. Now, CBS was celebrating this, Scott, and as always, I mean no disrespect when I remind you that you are trained in the arts of journalism.
The dark arts.
Now dark arts. Wasn't there a time when journalists and news organizations at least gave lip service to free expression?
Well, that's what I thought I was signing up for when I started taking journalism classes in college. And frankly, was very enthusiastic about, and so were a number of my friends around me who were engaged in the dark arts of journalism. I mean, we really thought that we were making a difference in the world by being able to get information to people who wouldn't otherwise have it. And that's why we were willing to put up with tedious meetings of, small town city councils and school boards.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my beat at the local newspaper I worked at. I had to cover 5 school districts. You think going to one school board meeting is dry? Imagine going to 5 regular school board meetings every month, plus all the special meetings they call. But doing that, you thought, this is how you find out. This is how people in the community can find out what's going on in their own community. So, yeah, it is sad. What amazes me about that reporter for the morning show was that how confidently and boldly she can declare something she knows nothing about. Like, Bill I would describe Bill as a diligent amateur. He's not a college professor. He doesn't spend all of his life studying this, but in his diligent amateur pursuit, he knows much more than this reporter does on TV. And even then, he doesn't just say bombastic things like she's doing. So that between that and the idea that free speech is how what led to the death camps, it wasn't free speech. It was government speech. It was the government crafting a propaganda campaign. It was the government convincing everybody that the Jews were the problem to everything that was going on in their lives. Yeah, this is really scary stuff. I mean, especially if you live in Germany, but I think you need to be on the alert for it here. We are better off, and we've said this many times, we are better off to let everybody say every fool thing that comes into his head than we are to start restricting some of the foolishness and say, well, that's because somebody might be hurt by your coarse words. Well, the people who might be hurt by those coarse words can tune them out. Just like I don't subscribe to HBO Max, you don't have to listen to people you don't want to listen to. But anytime you start hearing journalists or government figures start to talk about what kind of speech is permissible and what kind isn't, that is just an effort on their part to get control of the information that you have access to.
Yeah, Scott, I just like to do one little correction. Margaret Brennan isn't just some CBS reporter; she is the anchor of their CBS Sunday morning show. And this is one of the most influential, powerful, and well-paid positions in all of broadcast news.
Well, and I flatter her by calling her a reporter because an anchor is just a cue card monkey. So a reporter would actually be in the field doing something.
Yeah, and I appreciate the counter correction because you got a great point there, too. I have to give credit to my PJ Media colleague, Victoria Taft, for pointing this one out to me. Because Margaret Brennan actually did the Billy Madison thing. You remember the speech from the principal? This is what Marco Rubio should have said. Margaret, what you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. And I'm sorry you had to listen to it here, but at least we got to have a little fun with it, right? Right. Okay, that's your right angle on that, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time, assuming CBS News lets us.